Do for self or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious. So I move with it.
Grace and peace, Black family. This is Vicky Dillard, your sister with the curly braids. And I want you to get ready for the new Master Elements project, the Spear and the Shield.
This vaccine isn't experimental. It's like a dandelion. You overlook it for their weird science.
DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God have taken this time during the pandemic to carefully craft the soundtrack to Black empowerment with hot tracks like God Mind, featuring Sadat X of the legendary group Brand Nubians.
We never die. I made an ancestral shrine. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen, I'm a law in the person of sincere of the God. That mean your arms too short like Tar Anthony Shaw.
God painted me black.
God painted me black. Thanks for that. I'm a original man.
A letter to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
I say to the ancestors. Dear Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, I just wanted to thank you for all the lessons you left us. So yes, I'm more than grateful.
And the controversial song Buck Breaking God today.
Why every black show they gotta have a transgender? Either I'm crazy or this gotta be a planned agenda.
Get ready, Black family. This is a much needed project. This is the Spear and the Shield.
It blocks the opportunity and presentation to get community help. But when we actually empower our sisters to support them with love and light, and encourage our sisters who happen to have the situation to raise their children without the assistance of the biological father, but we help inspire these sisters with being a victorious mind state, which you had, that you would like you did with us. You attracted other alpha male frequencies and powerful men to help support us in the absence of our biological father.
I'd like to also share one of the things I did not do, even if I disagree with their father, I would never backtalk, badger, put him down, curse him. None of that would happen because I knew that I was actually shaping their lives every time if I would dare to do that, and that would destroy the fiber of who they are as men and as a woman. So when we end up in the relationship because we are hurt and we have misunderstanding, don't destroy the child by putting the father down or the mother down, because you're only going to just bring the child down, and you make the child susceptible to all type of influences because they don't feel their strong roots. So they will find out on their own the weaknesses and strengths of their parents. And also because when you're young and you get into a relationship, you're going to have some issues, you're going to have some problems. And then as you get more mature, then you realize, I could have done things different. And that becomes your lesson that you learn, and pass that lesson on to your children and start to share with them how you was able to overcome some of the insurmountable odds and such. So that's my sharing.
That's the wellness salute. Yes, beloved.
Do you think what type of impact does it have on a child if the parents, they no longer want to be together? They fall out of love, but they stay together for the child. So it may be some friction between a man and a woman, but they're together for co-parent. They're co-parenting, and they live in the same household. They're putting up a front for the child. They act like mommy and daddy's in love. Is that helpful for the child, but harmful for your own emotional health? What should you do in that instance where you want to raise a healthy child, but you don't want to be with your mate anymore?
Well, first of all, the child sees it. It reminds me of a famous woman. She was breastfeeding, and she says, I feel so bad about our relationship with the father, and I'm crying all the time, but I never cry from the baby. I said, well, it's in the breast milk. All your pain and all your suffering is in the breast milk. It's inside the breast milk. It's from the DNA going into your blood, into the soul of this being. So you're going to have to actually heal that up and know that you actually created that relationship. See, I say it's all me. we create our reality. Whatever we're going through, it starts from inside. It doesn't start outside. And that's where your power is. I'll have this affirmation. I said the power to heal all your conditions are within you, and you have the mighty power to heal yourself. And I would tell that to my children, that they have the power. At any time they feel things are not working in their life, they can go in and heal. But in terms of having a man and woman in the same house for the sake of the child, actually you're showing the child how not to be loving. Because you're not going to be loving necessarily. You're going to be passing like two ships in the night. He's going to go in his room. She's going to go in her room. They're not going to be eating together. There's not going to be a lot of smiles and joy in the house. The house is going to be solemn. It's going to be depressed. And the child's going to absorb all of that. And that's what they're going to marry. That is what they're going to model. And they're going to now create the same relationship again. So it's healthier that you don't pretend, that you be real. And that you do have a separation, but you still have a unity and work with the child. And when they go to either home, that there's peace in that home.
To echo what my mom says, I mean, I do that with my daughter's mother and my daughter. You know, I form a team. You know, my daughter's name is Atanet Nefere. So it's Team Atanet Nefere. Me and her mother are her coaches. You know, we're coaching our daughter to success. And we have love for each other through the success of our daughter, you know? So it's about, you know, love never dies, but it can transcend, you know what I'm saying? And that goes back into what we talked about before, Brother Rich, about, you know, knowing how to use the energy constructively, you know? So it's not just stuck in an emotional space, because a lot of times when you're stuck in an emotional space, you take on the spirit of being the victim and not the victor. Okay, so you want to move when the relationship transcends a physicality, then you can move it from an emotional physicality space to a spiritual and mental space of objectivity. Thinking, okay, we've had problems. What could I do to contribute to make this a functional situation beyond my ego that will help my offspring? You know, how can me and this mother, you know, in the sense of if it's a mother and a father, of a mother to the father, how can you come together in a union and have a productive interaction for the sake of the child, and also for the sake of yourself being productive, because you're co-parenting, you know, the honor of actually being, you know, partnering with someone so another life form can raise in his or her powerful self. And, you know, all relationships, you know, necessarily don't have to end destructive. You know, you can actually find ways if you did love each other at one point, then there's some negotiable space there to transcend and be productive. But it takes two adults to be able to go be objective, to see the possibility and how they can work together for the goal of the child and not for an ego. A lot of times relationships who run sour, this kids suffer because the parents are so subjected to the emotional pain of each other and themselves and the ego and the blaming and being victims, that they're not able to transcend the ego body and the ego consciousness of each other for the sake of the child. So they'll fight and war for years, you know, and the child is seeing pops or moms, and they're not even seeing the pops and moms in their higher self. You know, the pops is always talking bad, like mom said about the mother's always talking bad to the father, and they think that because they're physically providing, you know, resources, economics, that the child is being whole. Eventually, that dysfunction shows up in how the child now attracts relationships and how they create other life, or how they marry or divorce or do things. So we have to break the cycle of dysfunctional relationships we have with each other. And I'll encourage you all in there to move from a victim consciousness to a victor consciousness. Begin to transcend the ego. If there's a possibility to be harmonious, find that spot that transcends whatever he or she did, he said, she said, he did, she did, and go from the victim to the victor space for you, not only the child, Ma, but for yourselves. It's a good practice so you can show up masterful, so you can attract a better mate next time. You have to practice somewhere, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let me stop that. Powerful jewels right there to open up the show with, to set the tone with right there. Definitely wanted to open up with that. You know, we focus a lot on repairing the Black family. You know what I'm saying? We focus a lot on the major issues that afflict Black society. And you know what I'm saying? When we're dealing with politics and all of that stuff, of course, we focus on the number one issue, which is economics and getting these reparations popping. But when it comes to things that we can deal with internally, things that we can work on and repair ourselves, I believe the number one issue is repairing the Black family. And so I definitely want to set the tone with that clip right there from Queen Afua and SupaNova Slom, who is our guest for this evening. But before we get started with that, let me just say welcome everybody to another episode of SincereluvdagodCast. I am the God, Sincere Love, in case you didn't know, here with my lovely co-host, Nicety Girl in the digital building. What's going on, beloved?
I'm super excited about today's guest. I know that there's going to be so many jewels that I personally need, stuff that I can kind of talk to. I have a grown child, and she and I actually were speaking today. And I asked her, I said, did you read the book that I gave you? And she was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you sent me this, because I didn't tell her I was sending it. And she's like, because I'm on the spiritual journey. And I was like, wow, this is just like right on time, right? Like totally on time.
Right. And yeah, Jules was being dropped already with just the intro right there. So we ain't gonna waste too much time. Let me let y'all know, for those that's not familiar with our guests, let me read the bio real quick, man. Let y'all know who we got coming on the set tonight. Peace to everybody that's in the chat, by the way. Appreciate everybody tapping in early. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new content. This is the Black Business Showcase. We do this every Wednesday and Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And be sure to check us out on Sundays for our regular broadcast where we cover current events and other important topics pertaining to the Black community. And that's Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. So share this out right now on your social medias. Let everybody know that we are live and we're going to be chopping it up with SupaNova Slom. SupaNova Slom is a byproduct of many things, from being born and raised vegan to overcoming street life to being an emerging voice in the hip hop renaissance, a spiritual guide for his generation, to being a son of world-renowned holistic healer, Queen Afua. Through his journey, no matter where that led him, SupaNova has come to his appointed life's purpose and work, where all his gifts merge into spiritual and nutritional healing and empowerment. SupaNova holds various certifications as well as a degree in exercise physiology from the Swedish Institute. He is a spiritual practitioner, holistic wellness educator, speaker, vegan bodybuilder, community advocate, recording artist, and a U.S Army combat veteran dedicated to using his well-versed and expansive skills for the well-being of others. With a name that means shining with the brilliance of 100 million stars, given by his mother, SupaNova is galvanizing a new possibility for the now generation with the support of his multidisciplinary work, which includes his book, The Holistic Remedy, the 5-week power plan to detox the body, combat fat and rebuild your mind and body, his Super Mega Foods company, a plant-based supplement line including Super Mega Greens, Super Mega Protein, and Super Mega Immunity Rescue Tincture, and his docu-film, The Remedy, Holistic Wellness for the Hip-Hop Generation. SupaNova is the pioneer of the chlorophyllian green lifestyle, creator of the hip-hop meditation ciphers, founder of the Unify the Hood, Heal the Hood organization. He has worked with an array of souls, ranging from A-list entertainers, military soldiers, and leadership, street gangsters, and inner city youth to well-accredited medical doctors and local street organization leaders. He received recognition from the Association of the Study of African Civilization, has spoken internationally and appeared on Jay Leno, The Today Show, ABC News, BET, and CBS. His work can be found at supermegafoods.com, theremedybook.com, supanovaslom.com/IG, SupaNova Slom. And today he is here on SincereluvdagodCast for tonight's episode of the Black Business Showcase. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our guest for this evening, SupaNova Slom in the digital building. Peace, King.
Peace, Almighty. Sincere love to God. Wellness Warrior Salute. Nicety Girl. Wellness Warrior Salute family.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for having me.
Sir.
I appreciate that. I be wow, but you opened the way. Ashe.
Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed, man.
Yes.
Definitely definitely want to take the time to appreciate you being here with us tonight, man. You know what I'm saying?
Gratitude.
I have a great appreciation for all of our guests that we had so far. You know what I'm saying? But when somebody like yourself agrees to come on the GodCast, being that we are a brand new platform and we are still growing, and you know, we just seen you a couple days ago on the Earn Your Leisure podcast with our brother 19 Keys.
Yes, 19.
That thing is trending all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Reading all the credentials in your bio, you know what I'm saying? All of these high profile platforms that you've been on, and for you to be humble enough to accept to come on our platform as we are growing. You know
it's
what I'm
honest.
saying?
Well, y'all are doing. Let me reflect that y'all are doing the work. You know, I just told my wife asked me about y'all, and I said, you know, I get so many offers to come on, you know, various platforms, and my mother has a book called Impeccable Listening, her new book. I just listen to Spirit because it's a lot, right? And then I'm also currently taking brothers through the new semester of Man Heal Thyself online training. So it's a lot of times I'm not always available because I'm trying to conserve my energy so I can, you know, serve into the brothers. So I'm real selective of what podcasts that I come on to, even though I love them all. I appreciate, keep my ears to the street, but I love the work y'all doing, you know, and then to see what I call in the Commission now Valley culture, the Austin Asar working together, the male and female, the divine feminine, divine masculine working together. To me, that should be saluted and highlighted at a high level. You know, online we talk about what's trending is why Black men and women don't work together and don't get together. But I see you two working together with the brand and getting the word out and really growing. So I send a salute to you all, abundant growth and development, and I'm honored to be here to share with you all. Wellness salute.
I received that. Brother. And yeah, speaking of the, you know, the Aset Heru paradigm, that's exactly what I think of when I see you with your mom, when I see you with Queen Afua. You know what I'm saying? It's just that image of the Madonna and child, the Black Madonna and child. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I just think that's so dope, man. But
well, that speaks to why I'm here with y'all. Like,
right.
You know, to me, you know, however I'm blessed by the Most High and ancestors with my opportunities, I will always find a way to, like you say, come down in the roots in water. Like, you know, I think, you know, if I could be a bridge of more luminaries of ours to come down from the top of the pyramid down to the grassroots and water every so often, we need that, you know, as so above below, you know. And so at any opportunity that I'm able to come and share the word and do the positive ministry with the family, you know what I mean? I don't get caught up in none of that. I'm like, listen, let's go. If it aligns, let's build and heal. Ashe. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so, brother, man, how we like to do here on the GodCast, man. I like to get the origin story of our guests. And I know yours is an interesting one, you know what I'm saying? Growing up in the type of household that you grew up in, man. Just, you know, give us, I guess, a brief one, you know what I'm saying? Because I know we could be here all day.
Oh my God. I'm trying to, you know, so I will. So let me caveat it. Your brother's life is so dense, you know. I try to every time, you know. I'm now used to talking about it, you know, for so long, but it's so dense and I have to different dynamics to it. So I be trying to like hit it in a way where I'm not too long-winded. But let me say this, okay? So I'm a byproduct of my mother, Queen Afua, who is a 50-year holistic wellness practitioner, you know, veteran in the wellness arts. My father, who's now an ancestor, my birth father, who's an ancestor, Chief Shango B. David Terrain. They met in the mid 70s. He was on his wellness path. She was on her path. They met in the park doing wellness, running, you know, working on themselves. He was a practicing what they would call a vegetarian back then. You know, it's different now because if you say vegetarian, you think maybe you eat dairy, but back then it meant what it means vegan means now, which is full plant-based, no dairy, no animal byproducts. So just for context, right? Anyway, so for context now, they both were vegans. My mother, of course, was now on her path when she met him around 75, 76 when they met. And she was just really owning the lane of being a wellness coach, using her story of overcoming her sickness to help others, you know, with an alternative path, you know, with a alternative holistic path. So in the midst of that, they created me. I was conceived in that dynamic union of them two together. At the time, my father was also he was a practicing. Well, he was, I don't want to say practicing. He was a what they call why is it slipping right now? He worked in the medical field in respiratory therapist in the medical field, right? And so he was really, what he was doing in the allopathic community, my mother was doing me in the homeopathic community. So they kind of had that relationship and understanding between both realms, right? And he supported what my mother was about, at the high level, economically, socially, politically, just really supported her. And, basically, long story short, they had 3 kids together in the span of their marriage. We were strict vegans in the 80s, so that was real hard being raised in Brooklyn, pretty much what they would call a food desert, in a sense where, it wasn't a common thing. They were like little small hubs of vegan cultural Pan-African kids walking, around that my mother would align us with just to kind of have that type of community. But it was very hard, being raised, as a vegan with my friends in the hood and my family members who didn't really believe in the lifestyle. Me and my brothers and sisters, especially me being the oldest, I had a lot of fights in preschool into middle school, just because I had sprouted, organic sprouted food sandwiches, right? Yeah, and everybody had ham sandwiches. So I ended up being a wellness warrior early because I had to fight for my wellness. You know what I'm saying? I had to be a warrior for just to fit the fact that I'm eating, dried apple snacks and not, some Doritos, right? It was simple as that. So, that cadence, it builds up that fortitude of being aware of your lifestyle that is different. Of course, we looked physically like normal, healthy kids. We wouldn't have any offset health disparities that you could see. We were not anorexic looking. We didn't have a lot of the issues that people may demonize if you're raising a vegan kid, right? So the thing becomes, are they getting their nutrients? Are they protein deficient? So my mother was very clear on that. With herself, had to fight her own health fight, that when she had children, she had to really be pro nutrient dense meals and micronutrients. A lot of parents, who get into the lifestyle, maybe now it's more pop culture, but a little fast forward, what I would observe is that a lot of parents would have problems making sure that the transition was on point, and because all eyes were on the parents of how you raise your kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so you really have to make sure that the children's meals are well-rounded, right? You have to make sure they have a healthy plant-based protein source, a fat source, healthy carbohydrates, a lot of fiber, a lot of water, right? And those are the main maintenance principles and protocols you have as an adult being plant-based or being vegan anyway, or anybody. You want to have a really well-rounded meal. So with that being said, that was pretty much the environment I was raised in. A lot of, my mother and father divorced when I was like maybe 5 or 6. My father unfortunately spiraled downhill and became addicted to crack cocaine, which was synonymous with the 80s. So I was raised in the household that they established as wellness warriors, and the wellness protocol and the science, the metaphysics, the Know Thyself chapter. But my father, when I visit him, he's in the projects. He descended, in his journey, unfortunately. So I was raised to those extremes. A lot of people, when they see my mom, they just see that aspect. So they just think that's only one part. Right. So I know that I speak to a tribe of brothers and sisters that were raised in the 80s and 90s that probably had those extremes. We only highlight brothers and sisters how we may perceive to see them, but we don't know there's a lot of us that have had to come up in different environments, and climatize. But anyway, long story short, you start out really good and you on it as a young person, you hit your teens and you wild out. So I had my wild out period, just to make it short, a lot of, undeveloped decisions, and just rebelling against what my mother protocol was. I had a lot of positive male figures around me. Post my father, my mother got married twice. Once to Reverend Valentine. I'm pretty sure you know the name if you're not familiar with his name. Reverend Phil Valentine. He was my stepfather for like 3 years of my life. Stern, disciplinary, a beautiful man. I'm still close to his kids now, as brothers and sisters. And then my final stepfather, Baba Heru, which is a renowned Kemetic priest. He's been on Sinetta TV and Brother Rich, and he's known in the conscious community very prolifically as a Kemetic priest. So I've had the positive role models, but I just think that unfortunately for brothers and sisters around my age capacity, coming from the 80s into the 90s, part of the rites of passage and when the environment we live in is the streets. Like you can't really, you could try to avoid it, but it's almost like if you're raised in the hood, there's going to be some type of rites you have to go through. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're a good kid, a nerd kid, whatever, you're going to have to go through some type of rites of passage in order to acclimatize and learn yourself in the development. So I threw myself face full into just rebellion. As I started healing myself in my journey as a young man, I realized it came from my father and him being subjected to that side of the force, like the Luke Skywalker story, Darth Vader and Luke. And so, I kind of got pulled to the dark side of the force because my father was in his Darth Vader, and I was the Luke Skywalker going to the dark side. And even in the dark side, my mother always, prayed for me, kept me spiritually charged, make sure that I had my nutrients. So I was still engaging in the wellness, but I was still going through the rites, almost lost my life in it. And that almost losing my life in the streets and really, having a moment of really just, railing back my life and saying, okay, this is not really what it needs to be for me. And almost like I was given a second chance. Everything I learned from the streets and everything I learned from my mother and the elders at that point became like a unified consciousness in me, and so then now I use my street affiliations as a bridge to, share information to brothers and sisters who may not have had access to what I was blessed to have access to. But because I was also in the streets and I had ears to those pushers, bangers, and slangers, right? And my light was still attracted to them to listen to me. I was able just to drop jewels and be more of a bridge to those brothers and sisters. And at that point, I realized this is my calling. That I have a calling and a need to, take what I was blessed to have with the elders in my life and my mother being definitely my wellness warrior inspired me, and to really, really find unique ways as an artist, as I'm known as the hip hop medicine man, as a wellness practitioner. How can I find ways to just inform and empower and inspire my generation on holistic wellness? So my first effort was Unify the Hood, Heal the Hood. I created that in the mid 90s as a way to stop a lot of the gang violence that was beginning to happen with brothers and sisters in New York, starting to adapt, Western culture, West Side gangster culture. Along with our own stuff that we already had our own stuff, right? So all of that is like a big, big explosive pot. And so I was in the midst of all of that germinating, trying to help brothers really navigate that space. That was the Heal the Hood initiative, and then the Unify the Hood initiative, and then the Heal the Hood was a lot of the homies that I knew in the gang culture would be like, brother, I know your mom got the drinks or the herbs. Can you give me something for asthma? Can you tell me something about how can I balance my anxiety? I mean, this is straight killers, straight brothers wilding out. But at that point I said, man, these brothers, they just, the choices may be a little off, but these are beautiful brothers. Nobody really gets to see these brothers, although they're in the midst of the chaos, they really want to transform themselves. So because they was always asking me, I said, okay, I can unify the hood, right? But we still need to heal. We still need to encourage brothers to heal themselves so we can maintain a lot of the peace that is broken when you have the peace treaty. Peace treaties always come all the time. They don't hold because, it takes the individual to really work on his or herself. So, that's how I started to, get that principle starting to happen. That led me into, just that initiative and just being a wellness coach and trying to find holistic ways to inform back into the community. I had an opportunity to meet Erykah Badu on my journey, right a year before she became an internationally.
Oh.
Okay.
That's on his end?
I think so, because it's on his that's frozen. You're moving and I'm moving.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
It froze up. It froze up real quick. You just saying.
Yeah,
right
Badu. Yes, I met Badu, and she actually was at a showcase that I was having in Brooklyn. I didn't know her at first. She was just in the audience, and I had a live band, and we toured now for the most part. she came out to me after, just was really excited about me as an artist. And we just bonded and started kicking it. She told me she was from out of town. She's from Dallas and she was in New York. She didn't tell me exactly why she was in New York, but I knew she was an artist. We caught the build and she said, you know, we talked about being vegan and meditating and just all this stuff. And then she talked about the book she's reading is Heal Thyself by Queen Afua. I said, wow, well, that happened to be my mom. And then we, what? So that, you know, that became a whole nother layer of excitement and brother-sister bonding. Anyway, like a few days later, I took her home to meet my Baba Heru, meet my moms. She was with us literally every day up until the time before she came out with Baduism and that, you know, the top of 97. And then I started to know that, okay, she took me to the studio. She's going to the studio. She's doing this. I'm like, oh, yo, this is a big deal. She's actually really doing it. And then she hit the world, bang, Baduism. And she said, bro, you got to, and at the time I was in college doing business management. That's how I was studying. She said, bro, you got to go on the road with me. I need you. You're the medicine man. I need you to travel with me. Right around the time her and Andre 3000 connected, you know, I remember I brought her to a show. Me and my cousin wanted to see Outkast. It was the first time we saw them in New York when they were promoting the second album. And then we took her with us, you know, and happened to take her with us, and they were featured in the Vibe magazine that month. We took her to see Outkast. And she was also like the highlight spot, like the artist of the month. It was the serendipity of all of that, right? So she was that. And then, you know, that one thing led to another, and where everybody got together. You know, we know they got together. Yep. And so, you know, Andre, beautiful brother. Just beautiful, man. Him and his whole camp. And so I ended up traveling the world with her for 2 years. You know, him. I was with Outkast. You know, we did a lot of shows with them, and you know, and so pretty much the Medicine Man was activated. How I got Hip Hop Medicine Man, the name, I would always be, whether it would be in Spain and the UK, we'll be all over South America, I would always have the juicer with me. So I was always juicing on tour with Erica. And every artist that would, you know, they would just come and I'll be, no, give them some greens. I'll make them some greens and make them stuff. One day we were with Busta Rhymes doing something. And every time I saw him and Spliff, you know, we had like about 5 shows with them, so we would always see him every day. And I would always make sure you drink your greens. They were like, oh yeah, he come with the greens. But I always make sure they sit there and drink their greens. He said one time we was doing something for Radio C Music Hall. He was like, you know, SupaNova, you're a hip hop's medicine man. Because you always giving us the green. I don't know. He spoke some with your weed. I'm not sure he gonna remember that, but I remember it because I remember the day it happened. And I said, yeah, I am hip hop's medicine man. Now I said, not only am I an artist, but I said, oh, this is, you know, I'm actually one that wants to serve. I want to see my artists that I look up to well, you know, right. Not only as an artist myself. So as y'all see, this is my story is long and it's a lot. You know, I can pause it,
and that's just scratching the surface.
This is also, I mean, you want me to pause? I mean, I have so much more, but I'll take a pause. I'll take a breath and pass the mic.
Well, man, it's so much that you touched on, like the way you breaking it down. Like as you saying certain things, I have questions, and then you answer the question right after that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's great either way, man. People in the chat are saying they're enjoying it already, so we good to go, man.
Well done, salute to the family in the chat. Yes, beloved. You have something to say, Sincere?
Yeah, man. I want to say that I appreciate you sharing, you know, the part about when you were growing up and, you know, the breakup with your parents and how, you know, your mom did the best that she could and you still ended up in the streets, in that street life. I think that's going to help a lot of people that's listening, especially mothers out there that has similar situations and they put a lot of the blame on themselves. I think that will give them some comfort and some understanding that, you know, that pull, that allure of the streets is something that's just, you know what I mean?
You know what, Sincere? Let me tell you this, Sincere, what my mom would do. You know, I talk to my wife a lot about this, like, because, you know, she does healing work, but she has a similar story like me. A lot of people don't really understand. She had, you know, she was born and raised in South Central LA. So me and her mirror each other, and she was in the midst of the war zone out here, right? So me and her look at each other and be like, yo, we were both reflecting that we were very young in our street life deployment. And we both trade war stories to say, how do we even survive it? Like it's I mean, I can't all pack it all now. I can come back and we can just, you know, build in the future. But it's like I was just so humbled See, like for me, I reckon when I talk to her, I recognize the majesty of the Most High. Even if people don't, and I'm not talking about a spook God. I'm talking about this, the connection of a human being to source in the cosmology, right? Whatever you want to call it. It's real, right? Because the way we would talk about how we would, I mean, I'm 13, 14, like literally in the streets, like coming home at the next morning stinking in the house at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm in Brooklyn hanging out, partying in the Bronx as a 14-year-old. That's insane. Queen Afua is an icon in the community, literally doing healing work, and she don't even know. But what she did know, every time I come home, she would sage me down, or if I was asleep, she'll wake me up, throw me in the Epsom salt bath to soak me and get the streets off me. What she did when I was powerful. Rather than be the mother, not tagging no mothers that do this, right? But rather to be the mother, you're screaming, yelling at me, saying I can't do it, you can't, right? She would prepare me for life because she knew that she understood what I was up against. She understood I was caught up in my father's thing and my curiosity to explore myself in the streets. So she said she put the spiritual umbilical cord was connected to me. And she would pray for me every single time I would come and go. And when I would bring my friends to the homies to the house, she would sage them down and pray over us. She would scare them, so they would think that your mother's crazy. She said she was in point to really be a prayer warrior and to really spiritually charge me, you know. And same thing with Baba Heru. Baba Heru, again, he was an amazing stepfather and role model. But again, for me, the gravity of the streets, like you said, Sincere, I had to go through that rites of passage. Wow. And it's almost like the Most High, the ancestors knew I had to go through that. And I was my life was on the line, but enough for me to be here to survive and tell you my story. It's like I realized
the question that I want to ask you though.
I had been to be a beacon and to be a bridge for other brothers and sisters that are still, trying to find their way in the gravity. So yeah, what you gonna say, brother? Absolutely,
absolutely. Yeah, the question I wanted to ask you as you're going through that is what event or circumstances would you say led you to the transitioning from that street life into walking into your purpose?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was leaving New York. What happened was,
with the music,
with the music, down south. I had to go down south because my mom made me go down south. Okay. So I was like in the midst of 2 street transitions in New York, right? Before I left, I was part of the Low Lives. I would have my own set called the Sportsmen. And I wasn't down with Thurston Holland and all of them. They were from like the 80s coming into the 90s. I was part of a whole nother wild, rowdy young set from Crown Heights. And we were really getting it. We were really robbing the stores and robbing drug dealers. That's our whole thing, is to stick up drug dealers. So we were a different type of low set because we would be with the hustlers and the killers. But we would, it was like parts of us would just be stick up kids. So I wasn't into selling dope because of my father. He was dealing with the crack cocaine, but I was into selling guns. I was pushing guns. So I was part of that racket of just taking illegal guns and moving them through high schools and getting money like that, robbing drug dealers and buying low, trading low, I was really living the low life, life. And I had so much of it, you know what I'm saying? So in New York, they had this thing called STEAM teams, right? And at the time, and different boroughs had their own STEAM teams. A STEAM team would either get together with like 30, 40 guys and they're like rush a mall or rush a store, rush Bloomingdale's or Macy's, right? But also there were specific STEAM teams that were rush cribs, right? So it would be like every year in the streets, if you were in the know, it's like a random list will go around of different guys and girls that had a lot of influence in the different boroughs, right? So like there'll be a list in Queens, a list from Long Island, Brooklyn, right? And so the STEAM teams will get together and germinate these lists, and these would be some serious gangsters that will go and handle these things out. And they'll run up in people's cribs and, whether it be in a project, brownstones, wherever, kick in the doors, kick in the doorway, in the 4-4. Like that's like it's a song, but that was a real for a lot of people. Like, so they would come in, kick in your door if they find out you were holding dope, clothes, jewelry, money, right? And so there was a few of us young guys, low kids that were notorious for having a lot, right? Now, I don't know how I got on the list, but I realized not only did I have a lot of clothes, right, but I had a lot of money. I didn't know where to put it. I had a little bank account, but I didn't put it in the bank. I kept it in my house. I had a lot of money from just dealing firearms, a lot of it. And so I don't know if I was smoking weed or high, talking too much. I don't know what happened, how I caught slipping. But what happened was my mother picked up something told her, impeccable listening, pick up the phone. I was on the phone with my homies that were part of the set I was from, and they said they just said they can't get my back. I made the list.
Wow.
This is like 94. I made the list. You know, you're young guys. They nothing they could do. Now, my father, you know, he was married to my stepmother, who Latin stepmother, Puerto Rican. You know, she has nephews that were real tight with me, and they were into coke. They were dealers. They live in LES, and they would, like, you know, they were really high level dope guys, and they were killers too. And they just loved me. They loved everything about me, right? And so when I would get like a little beef, I would be scared to call them because they would type of, you know, people, if you call, and then, you know, and it's no talk, it's just they gonna come through, right? And I remember, I was like, my homies was like, I ain't going, you know, woo, you know, we can't back you up. And I was just like, I don't care, back me up. I got my cousins, they're going, you know, I don't, whatever. I was just talking my stuff. My mom was listening to all of that, you know, talking about the cousins, you know, my pops. She just was connecting the dots to my lifestyle. She didn't realize how deep I was into it. She just hung up the phone. I was an hour. They said, oh yeah, well, you made the list, and they come in for you. They know they know your grandmother's address in Crown Heights. At that time, we lived in Park Slope. They know the new house. And I'm thinking, I'm scared because I'm like, yo, you know, Baba teaches Comedics 101s at the house on Wednesdays. My mother does 21-day fasting. And their kid is wilding. These are icons in the community really doing the work. And their teenager is, you know, my pops, you know, Baba Heru, he was, at the time, he was a retired LAPD officer. So he was retired, you know, but he became a Comedic teacher. I mean, he was always in the Comedic while he was in service. But he, you know, at that point, he was in retirement. So here I am, talking about STEAM teams coming to their house. It's just wilding. I was totally out of balance, out of order. My mother heard everything, and so as soon as I hung up the phone, she was at the door saying, "You out of here." She called my pop's brother down south and said, "He gonna lose his life. They coming for my son. They coming. I know about this." She was talking to my uncles about the STEAM teams, this and that. Like, I didn't even know she knew how to break it down like that. But she heard everything I said, and she tried it back to my uncles. And within 24 hours, they worked it out between my aunt, my uncle. You out of here. They packed all my stuff. I was out of New York within like literally a few days. You know, and she found guns in my room. She found like I had like about at least 30 to 40,000 in cash. You know what I'm saying? But I had more in my grandmother's house. But she found all of this, you know, money. And he said she took all my polo, bagged it up in the bag. She didn't throw it out. She just hid it in the house. Of course, when I was leaving down south, I took it with me. I'm still the New York, Brooklyn kid. So I could be fly. I ain't going down to the south. Fly. So I snuck it in my suitcase. And, you know, so I still kind of had that knucklehead energy when I went down south. Now, you go down south, it's a different environment.
What part of the South?
This is North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Different environment in 94, because in 94, you know, of course you got the dope, you know, but now the South started to have a lot of the West Coast gang influence because of the dope. You heard a little about here and there in New York, but it wasn't as prominent as the South. It was really, you know, a lot of the homies that will come from Compton, South Central, and Watt set up shop, whether they were sanctioned back in the West or not. Like, these little kids would adopt whatever that grape sheep homie came from and did because they get money. You know, they're just taking on, you know, the Black Police Stones, whoever was there, they were adopted. So a lot of my cousins I was around when I came fresh from New York, they was all affiliated because they was getting money. So they were all Crips and Bloods. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to, like, it was weird for me because I'm on some fly New York, Brooklyn. You're not even New York. I'm from Brooklyn. That was, you know, like this how a homie would say I'm from Compton. That was my mentality. I'm fly. I'm getting all the girls. I'm fixed, loaded head to toe still. I got my own money. These high school kids are too slow. I'm gonna kick it to the girls in the college because I ain't stressing nobody. So I had all of that fast, you know, even though I was kicked out from my house from New York, still had that fast energy. It was the game banger culture that made me slow down because they were so on some tripping stuff, you know, because you know, in low, you know, you wear all colors, you know, you got everything in low, you know, every blue. Right? So I'm not kidding. Even now, the caveat to that, I would visit the South Central in summers because I have cousins and relatives that actually are from these neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying, in South Central. So I knew about Crips and Bloods in my visitation on the West because of my relatives. They were active. So I was very familiar, but it wasn't on me based upon me dealing with my peers. That's what so it's one thing visiting your cousins and seeing it, right? And then knowing the conflict is there, because I have family on both sides of the color, you know, the bandana. Then going to school and it's there, right? And then I have my down south cousins adopting it. So then I kind of have to be the mediator in order for me to navigate the school. I have to kind of now, okay, I gotta tap into my, you know, knowledge of self guard body. You know, I wasn't guard body, but I know, you know, you're in New York, you know all of the lingo. So now I gotta be the righteous, conscious street guy. You know, and they loved, and then I stole lingo from the West Coast because I have relatives out there, right? So then I started to swag on them because of that. So I had all of this thing going for me. That's how I didn't get robbed down there. I didn't get robbed. They didn't rob me. They let me live. I started making a lot of the damus and low lives just because I had so much low. I said man, you tripping on colors, you'll look bummy. So I just be dressing them up in my clothes because I said, y'all hanging around me, y'all messing up the girls, y'all messing up my swag. I can't, you know. So I make them fly. We be mobbing around the city. So that's how I saw a lot of the peace stuff, because I'll be dressing the dudes below or sending them on their own missions. I wasn't robbing no more, but sending them on missions to the mall, get robbed, get stuff, and so, just to create a different climate outside of that Crip and Blood thing that they were just getting into, you know, trying to be like the Colors film. So being out there, trying to now navigate the streets, being away from mom. Her book Heal Thyself was already 2 years out, you know, and hitting the community, really powerful grassroots. I had to heal myself. I had to really look in the mirror. I wasn't with my mom. So now none of my families are vegan vegetarians, right? Nobody's really into metaphysics or meditation or spirituality. I had to activate that myself. So I had to really be a young 15, 16-year-old really doing the work for myself because I didn't have that support system that was always there for me. So I found myself tapping into all the principles that Baba Haru instilled upon me, reading all the books, everything that mom was teaching me about. And then just to stay ahead of the swag, I would spit it to the, you know, the homies, my homies I met in college and people's in high school. And I just be catching bills like that. I started breaking out because I was eating too much sugar. Even though I was eating no meat, I was eating too much sweets, vegan and not vegan, right? And then my skin started suffering. Well, you can't be a pretty boy and your skin's breaking out. That wasn't working. So now I really had to heal thyself, right? So I started remembering my mother used to give me the micronutrient green drinks, the real chlorophyll concentrated blend. Now the blend is just not the chlorophyll itself. The chlorophyll comes from, of course, the pigmentation, what makes the pigmentation of the plant green, the chlorophyll, all the leaves on the planet, everything's chlorophyll in the sea and in the land. But the micronutrients of the chlorophyll are the chlorophyll derivatives. That's the alfalfa, the dandelion, the wheatgrass, the spirulina, you know, the plankton that you see in the sea, which is spirulina and the chlorella, which is high in amino acids and protein and chlorophyll. And then on the land where cows and bulls graze that are not, you know, genetically modified and confined, they're grazing on the alfalfa, the dandelion, the wheatgrass, right? So I'm having these concoctions throughout the years of my development and realizing now by myself. I remember when I would drink these different variations of these greens every day, my skin would feel clear, my energy was up. So I went down to the local health food store, which happened to be not too far from where I lived, which was cool. I went down there and I remember getting a quarter pound of everything that is in my Super Mega Greens blend that I sell as a entrepreneur now with my company, Super Mega Foods. I remember getting a quarter pound of the spirulina, the wheatgrass, the dandelion, the alfalfa, you know, the ginger good for digestion. And I remember taking a teaspoon of each of them in a gallon of water. My own, I just decided to do it because I said I needed to get my skin clear quick. and I needed to be ahead of this wellness. My mom ain't there to help me out. So I kind of went extreme. I took I took each scoop from each pound, a quarter pound, mix it up in some water, and I was drinking that gallon every single day. I take a gallon to school. This is 94, 95. I'm walking into school with a gallon of greens, mixed micronutrients. And I'm just drinking it every day. By the end of the week, my skin's clearing up, my energy's up. I'm not eating as much because I'm having that concentrated, you know, amino acids and that natural, that micronutrient, protein blend with the greens. So I'm really good. My colon is good. My skin is glowing. Everybody asked me, hey, what are you drinking? I just share my testimony. I wasn't trying to be dogmatic or make them like me. I said, hey, I want my skin to be clear, helps me with energy. I got a lot of homework. I want to stay up. So I just kind of shared that. Before I know it, other high school students would start walking around with their little bottles of greens, wow. And I would go hang out in the college after, a lot of my, I was young, but my mind was involved. So a lot of my friends were not only high school students, but college students. I used to hang out in, what was that called? Starts with the A in Greensboro. A&T, I think, A&T University. I believe that's A&T. So I would hang out over there, and same thing, The thing about the college students, though, a lot of them had my mom's book. So I would run into them, and they would be talking about wellness because of my greens. I'm reading this book, Heal Thyself. That's my mom. Whoa. So I became like a little celebrity just because of the affiliation. And now I had to be more responsible now because I'm deployed from home. I'm not with my mom and my family. So I can't really, even though I'm still in the street a little bit, swagging, I got to really now move in a different direction because I realized the knowledge I was kicking, me drinking the greens and talking about wellness, that was really like the bridge that distinguished me from a lot of the street kids. That was actually, I was like, this is dope because people like really want to hear what I got to say, and it gave me a different pocket that nobody was talking about. But I became more of a person. I started to heal myself. That's pretty much how it happened. I started researching the benefits of chlorophyll and just observing, like most vegetarians that I would see in the health food stores, they call themselves vegan vegetarians, but their shopping carts were full of starches. So I said, well, how are you a vegetarian if the word veg is in it, or vegan, right? Veg, that should be the majority of your foods, which should be chlorophyll for the most part. But if your cart is filled with carbohydrates, even if they're healthy, you're really a startitarian, masquerading as a vegetarian. So I started making that distinguishment. I said, well, I'm not eating a lot of carbs. I eat carbs. I was eating a lot. So I remember I was diminishing it because I would just eat more leafy vegetables and fruits, big bowls of salad, big giant gallons of greens. I was just really getting deep into the micronutrients of the chlorophyll. Heavy. I came back, graduated, survived that. Soon as one seesaw, go right back to the street, come back to New York, graduated. All of my low-life homies, a lot of their big homies coming home in Crown Heights, they became Bloods. Like literally, like Crown Heights. That's the majority of the influence there. So as soon as I come back, I'm a chlorophyllian. Mom, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm a chlorophyllian. Oh, that's good, son. But now I'm still in the street as far as hiking, but I'm getting jumped and chased by Latin kings. So, but all my homies I'm with now, they damus now. So I'm just banging with them because I'm tired of getting jumped by some freaking Latin kings. Because it wasn't really no Crips around. But I'm like, why does this Crip blood thing keep following me? I mean, down south and family. So I just started talking to a lot of my relatives that were in South Central and be like, tell them about this phenomenon that has happened. I said, I don't even know New York is ready for this. I'll be letting them know, the whole hood is red. And they're like, what? I'll be letting them know and what's going on. And regardless if it had positivity to it. But of course, if it's anything that's not enforced, it becomes chaotic, right? So let me just say that. I'm not trying to enroll nobody to be no blood, but I love the brotherhood. That's what I realized when I was from the low lives, the bonding in the street, even though it was low frequency, low vibrational, affiliating myself with the Bloods and fighting crazy Latin kings with just black brothers. Even though I ain't tripping on the black and brown, I love my brown family, but it's something felt primal, getting with like 50 brothers from Crown Heights and Bed-Stuy. You know what I'm saying? Mobbing on some crazy Latin kings on some black. That's what it was at the time. Blood meant black power for us, not as the Panther Cubs, but more like we in the street with this. Blood means brother, and we banging for the race. That was the initial wave before it became what it became with slashing and tripping. So we felt, so I just got down just because of the fights. After about 10, 15 fights, you just feel like you with your brothers. But I remembered, I said, for myself, accountability, I had to really balance myself because I said, I'm not going to go from the low lives to the Bloods in the same way. I got to really now be a bridge. So I remember talking to some of the elders out this way where I live in California, a lot of my elder cousins that were, damus out here, Bloods, and letting them know my story and seeing how they can help me help them, And that's when I started to do the unified hood part of it. Like really use my voice to inform, at least in my community. I didn't even know how big the blood phenomenon was in New York, because in Brooklyn, it was just so dense. I didn't even understand it in all the boroughs. So I just started building with the homies in a more positive, productive way to try to even stop a lot of the beef between the black and brown, and do that. Then a few years later after that, I was already into what I was into with the, deep into the science back in, Sankofa, child coming home to himself. But, as I'm coming home to myself with knowledge of self and get more back into being a more leader of positivity, then the Crip homies started. Now that's happening in New York. It's like 97, like, ah, the Crips. So, I knew a lot of them, so now I was in a situation where bring brothers together. And it was very hard because it was in the genesis of the madness, right? So it was very fresh on a lot of brothers of just the madness, And the only thing that kept me alive, I never got shot, stabbed from being a mediator. I owed it to the ancestors. I don't know what Tahuti, how my words are formed, but when I speak to the killers, they just happened at the time. Listen to me, because I would be literally in Crip hoods, put with peace pamphlets. Where I live in Crown Heights, I'm on the cusp. So you have Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, and then you have Flatbush. Flatbush was all Oaks, all Crips, with like maybe a few blood sets. This is 97, 98. And
isn't that mostly Caribbean over there?
I had these pamphlets that I put together. I call them G knowledge pamphlets, and I would have a lot of the jargon I would learn from the West Coast as far as the original intent. Not saying we're with it, but what the initial spirit was for the G's. I would talk to homies in Chicago and LA just to kind of inform the pamphlet. I would go right into the thick of these communities and just pass them out to try to cause peace. Crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I was doing that all while still being an activated vegan. I was doing the meditation. So I was in different ciphers. I was doing meditation ciphers. I was doing the knowledge with Baba, with the Kemetic coaching now. I was speaking as a wellness warrior in my mother's fasting programs about what a chlorophyllin is and why we need to get the greens. And then I'm in the streets pushing peace. You know what I'm saying? In late 90s, early thousands, And so that was pretty much my whole, pull. It's I realized that I had the opportunity to transform and transcend what I was affiliated with to really be a beacon of really building and not banging. So I only had a short time banging. I've been a builder for 20 something years. I say that I don't have nothing. That's nothing prideful to say about banging. So my affiliation with the red and blue has always been proud about, being in my community to be a bridge. Rest in peace, T. Rogers. He's from the Black Pea Stones. He was Sidewalk University. He was a big mentor of mine. And I was able to bring him to New York, at a time when it was really, really ground zero, and talk to thousands of bloods in my community, just in Crown Heights. And then have him be a voice for other Crips that was in Flatbush. So I was really one of those. Like I try to really be a bridge. Before social media was what it was, I was really in the streets to try to, bring brothers together holistically to find other ways to deal with each other. And even if they say, take that gangster energy and heal yourself. Take that that gang bang mentality and build yourself. That was always my mantra and my thing. If we can take that negative spin and use that aggression to be accountable in ourselves, is revolutionary. So that was always been one of my passions, to give back with the warriors. That which leads me to what I'm doing now.
Right. And
heal thyself, warriors. So from dealing with the low lives, dealing with the Bloods and Crips, this is and then little snapshot, being a combat veteran of the United States military. Now that is a whole nother bill, but all of those brotherhoods got me to this heightened service of men healing, because there's a common thread, whether they be soldiers in service in uniform, the G's in the street, the homies that are hustling, that there's a common thread that men need to be the best versions of themselves, and they really want to be. They just don't a lot of times know the how to. And so my mother knighted me with the opportunity to help her rewrite the book that she put out 10 years ago with her, based upon her knighting me to run the program, online training program. And so I had to go in here and approach the book with the tools that I've learned teaching the brothers in real time of what would they really need in a 24-hour clock in 7 days to body, mind, and spirit challenge themselves holistically to be the best version of themselves. And that's what how this book came about. So I mean, that's a snapshot. Like I said, it's so much. But when I do these interviews, I talk fast. I try to give it time where I can just hit it. Y'all ask me questions, but it's a lot. I'm blessed to say your brother has lived it. My life that I live humbly. I've lived maybe about 10 brothers' lives in one life, extremes. Because most of the lives I've lived, nobody. It's like different persons will live those lives, you know. But it's all me.
Yes, indeed.
It's all, and it could be misconstrued. It could be misread. But it's authentic. It's like, I'm just really a multi-hyphenate. I'm just strange. I'm a strange fruit, and it's okay. I embrace it. I embrace being different. I know this is my superpower is to be to synergize my life and find a way to help others. You know, no matter how strange or different it may be. But I'm really blessed about the journey that it took me to these different places to learn about myself, so I could be of service to others. And right now to be, leading brothers with their personal development of healing and accountability and being the best version of themselves. To me, I say it's all a blessing, dealing with the fights with the Latin Kings, dealing with the Bloods, the homies with contention and the low life boosting. I see the value in the chaos at the time, even though I wouldn't want my son to go through it or want your son to go through it or your son, but there is a value that you can gain from going through some rites of passage in those areas. The parents and the elders have to just have a strong faith. Faith, truth, and spiritual covering. We have some powerful brothers and sisters in our family that are just blessed with spiritual gifts. And my mother was a serious wellness warrior. She knew how to let me be deployed. Because she knew she was active duty doing her black woman magic. She literally was, because I'm like, I supposed to have been out my body a long time ago, many times. The Most High got me here. The ancestor got me here to continue to serve. Even when I was, deployed, as a combat warrior. And I was in Afghanistan. I went to the war. I can bless to say in transparency, so they won't have to bomb your comments. No women and children were harmed. So I got to be, I was blessed. My deployment, I deployed with 2 special forces groups. I was infantry. So all those movies you see, I lived that, like at the high level. Wasn't living on a forward operation base or FOB. I lived on Highway 1 on the borderline of Pakistan and Afghanistan with the imams, the religious elders. So basically the helicopter drops you in. The only way you're going to get out back to the forward operation base, which is a whole other side of Afghanistan, you got to get the helicopter. So we were really in the hood with the community, and what I learned there real quick is that the conflict that we see, the so-called terrorists or whatever it was just the elders had a different vision, being religious elder leaders, and the youth had a different vision. The youth's vision was kind of like the chaos I came from. They were pushers, the poppy, the opium, the heroin. That's the number one pure place that has it, and that what they call Afghan Kush. And so the conflict of the land was the elders wanted the land to grow crops. All the stuff was organic, no Monsanto, no corporation. It was just pure fruits, vegetables, grains. It's just illustrious. And then the other side of the youth with the Taliban, the Al Qaeda, the ISIS, right? They were dope boys with guns. And they were the little homies. Yeah, we know they were little homies of the United States government, but that's not nothing to be flagged. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, we were taught that when we were soldiers, that's who they were. So it was not, it's not really, some things are not really conspiracy. It depends upon what your ear is to, what you got access to. When you get access to where I was at, I had a double secret clearance. So for those that know what I'm talking about, so I was in the know, right? And they watching me for the rest of my life, like why? Because you got crazy soldiers that go through what I go through and go postal, right? It's because I do man heal thyself, and I got my mother, got my family, got my wife. I'm not postal. I take that frustration, I go work out. I go serve others and help others. So, but I know they're watching me, and they will continue to watch me. I'm glad they're watching what I'm doing, because what I'm doing with healing, I was doing there. I was juicing in the military. I was still a disciplined vegan when I was in service. You know, I had no excuse. Wellness is my creed. So I always tell brothers when I'm training with, if I can survive and maintain my health and wellness protocol deployed in a foreign country, then you have no excuse here to maintain and do your exercise, drink your water, have your micronutrients. I was doing that in the midst of combat. I was doing it. Right. So, you know, again, the elders and the youth. I said, wow, I got to see beyond the CNN and the Fox. I said, the conflict is the elders and the youth. The elders got one vision, you've got another vision. I said, whoa, we call it, insurgents and terrorists, but when you living with the elders, you get to see, oh, this is the game. But the game bang is we getting this money. And old man, uncle, imam, you know what I'm saying? That's nice. Salam alaikum, but we about to flip this 500 million to 1.5 billion. And that was the struggles. And look, after all of that, 20 years in that country, the dope boys won. They run the country. The imams didn't win. And it's sad because.
And that's why we got the opioid crisis that we see over here.
That's why we have it. You see, beloved? Listen, now our government, we know, is a duality. Our government has righteous tenets and it has a lot of unrighteousness to it. So, depending upon where
I don't know about the righteous part. I don't know about the former.
I was going to say, depending upon where you at, right? Depending upon where you are at in dealing with it, right? So, I have a different lens because I was dealing with the government at another level, right? So I got to see the duality on the other side. I didn't get to see it from the pale horse lens only. Well, I was told I got to be in it. See, one thing, you read a book, you do some you connect dots. Another thing to be in it with the white boys. I'm like in the briefs. I'm telling you, it's a whole nother universe. So I'm not giving our government or government to the world a time off. I'm saying, no, it's what you see is there, right? But it's a whole other thing you don't see, right? So it's like I said, it's a duality. It's God and the devil at the same time. It's contradictory. It's contradictory. It's righteous things that you see and witness, and there's a lot of unrighteous things you see, right? But that's with anything. It's in us. It's just that because of that level of power, it's concentrated, it's exalted, and it's concentrated, and it's loud. So I'm not giving it a pass. I'm saying my experience, interesting enough, you are who you are wherever you are. I was able to attract miraculous, righteous, transformative experiences in the midst of the belly of the beast. Like I was, come on. Queen Afua's sons living with the imams. Like, where they do that at?
Right.
Queen Afua's son has Special Forces Master Sergeant had his wife sent over a juicer for us, and I'm juicing for the local Afghans their organically grown fruits and vegetables for the soldiers and for the imams. Where they do that at? You see? So I don't I can speak to that. I see
you take your force field. You take your force field with you.
But I brought me. Heru went in the midst of the chaos and did his work. Right. I still showed up in the midst of all that contradiction. I showed up. Right. And that's what I'm not saying you want to join. I'm saying if you could take something from my journey and say, no excuse wellness. Right. I may not be gangster to do that, but I can be gangster to own sovereignty in my mind, body, and spirit. You know what I'm saying? I can make no excuses for myself. My brother was able to do that and be in that affiliation. He came out alive. And he couldn't have, I'm blessed he would come out alive. Got stories about that, right? Because I got a lot of brothers that didn't come out alive. They didn't come out. Who I went with is not who I left with. Right? So when I look at that, I look at the Crips and Bloods and the low lives and that, I'm like, I'm here for a real reason. I'm here to do this man. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to do this work.
Yes, indeed.
I'm here to give back to my family and be a wellness warrior voice. That's why I say I'm a wellness warrior, because regardless of whatever you at sis, you at brother sincere, we here to be, really G'd up for the best quality of our lives and to inspire each other to be the best versions of ourselves. And that's the spirit I want to continue to ring and let sound true.
Yo, so as we transition into talking about that wellness, the heal thyself aspect, and I know my sister got questions too, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to say that, being that you know that they got you on that list, that watch list.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not the only danger is not about you going postal, but even the work that you're doing is considered a threat to this system. You know what I'm saying? Healing Black families.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And trying to put people in they God consciousness. You know what I'm saying? That is viewed as a threat to this system as well. So, you know what I mean?
And you know what? It's all biblical, right? On some level, right? Or scriptural, no matter what system you study. Because, you know, the devil, then got so much power, right? On so many levels from everything indigenous, right? That the war right now are the devils banging devils. So when devils bang devils, right? That's called the sacred opportunity. What you'll see now, devil will spite devil by helping up the righteous. That's been my journey. Like literally straight demons and devils have opened doors and open ways for me regardless, because they in bang mode. So yeah, I'm a threat, but at the end of the day, they are on such another level with their thing that you'll find if you stay true to your signal and your service, righteous or unrighteous, you will be given safe passage. You will have certain souls that won't even know why. They'll just be drawn to help you and serve you and give you safe passage. So it's almost like the metaphysics of Harriet Tubman. Like, you know, she was in the midst of the chaos, right? She was being led by her spirit. She had a lot of demons that could have turned her in, and for some reason they just let her go. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta. There's a spiritual power in us. Some people call it magnetism, high vibration, right? In us, that if we really begin to nurture that and be aware of that, we can use that to inspire and influence people, places, and things. If you study the Star Wars trilogies, right, or the films, one of Luke Skywalker or a Jedi's power is to use the Force to influence, right? So there's parts of Star Wars where Luke was literally facing the opposition, and then he automatically was so in tune with his life force, he was able to project that to that soul and have that soul open the way for them. Like, we really have that type of power, and I'm pretty sure, sis, you can share stories, and brother, you can do it too, of your life when you look back. How that power showed up in your life with things opening up for you and so forth. So I'm not scared about no list. I mean, we all on some list on some level. I'm here to just do this work, and I know that the ancestors, the Creator has such a knighting over me, and the way will be made. Because I'm the work I'm doing. Slave and slave masters need to be free by the work I'm doing. So I'm not even set tripping. The demons, devils, ghouls, goblins, gods, and saints, they all need when I'm cooking up. So I'm not even tripping. I'm just here to just be disciplined and do this sacred work.
Ashe.
Nicely.
I'm gonna let you jump in. I know you got some questions that you want to shoot out there. You know what I mean? And then we're going to transition. I'm going to play this clip, the Man Heal Thyself clip. And then, God, you could build from there. You could build from there, break down the program and the book and everything. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, nicely.
Well, I think maybe we should play the clip because my questions are pertaining to the Man Heal Thyself. I wanted to know.
You want me to play it first?
Yeah, I think so, because it's about that. My questions are about that specifically. Yeah.
All right, bet. So we're going to play the short clip, you know what I mean? Then we can get into this Man Heal Thyself program. So here we go.
Why Man Heal Thyself Wellness Warriors within the city of wellness? You cannot have a city of wellness without having our men. That makes a family. Forsaken Woman has been in existence for well over 3 decades. And we represented sacred women. Asta Nebbit had. Asta Nebbit had are the ladies of the house, the ladies of the heavenly realm, the great mother who sits on her seat of power. And in the most ancient of times, the women opened the way. We opened the way. Coming on the planet Earth, we opened the way. And we supported you throughout your life as mothers and daughters. We've supported our men as wives, companions. because that's the family. And at the end of life, and you go into the ancestral realm, we then again open the way to welcome you into the highest plane of spiritual life. So in our city, we have to have healthy whole men, just as we have healthy whole women. And we have bear witness that once the book was written, Man Heal Thyself, it took 8 years for us to discover who would be the leadership in Man Heal Thyself. We had 12 healing juggernauts that were waiting. These are men who've been masters at their craft of different levels of healing, communication, finance, just so many different levels of being a man. And only a man can raise a man. Those 12 juggernauts were waiting in the wings for about 4 years until we were able to seek the 2 young men who would actually be the leadership. One is SupaNova Slom, hip-hop medicine man. I birthed him from his birth and raised him in this way. And I asked his soul, would you take the position and the post of leadership? And he accepted. And then Queen Esther.
My son, Hallelujah, also working side by side with SupaNova Slom. And they lead the Man Heal Thyself. And we're both so proud because they're following in our footsteps of uplifting and healing and showing what it is to be a healed man. It is so important, so necessary.
And they were raised together, you know, when they were children, and to grow through the years and feel so connected. They are true brother to brother. And so we give thanks and praise. So we just graduated 22 Man Heal Thyself wellness warriors who now walk the earth. And we witnessed couples heal together as a result. Some couples were on the brink of divorce, separation, family homes broken, children shattered. But when the women already were sacred women. Wow. And we saw the change in the women when their husbands, their mates, took the journey as wellness warriors. It fortified the sisters, it fortified the wives, it fortified the family. And we knew that's our way back home now.
It's the medicine. That is essential to every part of Africa's family structure. Absolutely. And the key to our healing is when we have women that are sacred, when they're well, and when we also have men that rise and become sacred and become well. Now we can build a strong family. Now we build a whole family. Now we build a powerful family. And this is what our people need right now. So we are reaching out to our men now. We have so many women around the world, but we are reaching out to our men to come forward and learn how to heal yourselves. Learn how to be brothers and brothers getting along with brothers. Learn how to work in harmony. Learn how to bring your gifts and how to make a living with your gifts. We're here now, building a city, Queen. When you heal a city, you build a nation. When you build the nation, you heal the world. Man, heal thyself. Join us today, now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So nicely, you know, you could ask your questions and then God, you could take it from there. You could take it and run with it.
Yes. So, man, heal thyself. And obviously this is some type of internal work that men have to do in order to, you know, heal from whatever traumas that they may have had.
Right.
How do you get, or how does your book teach men to be vulnerable and get in a space of vulnerability to tap into the mindset, you know, in order to heal? And also how important is having a safe space with their spouses to be vulnerable? Because, you know, sometimes men talk. I did this with my son. I have a 17-year-old. When he would cry, when he was little over things, I would get down and be like, be quiet. Don't be crying. Boys don't cry. And I had to change that, you know, later once I learned. So, you know, creating a safe space for Black men specifically to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, that's a very loaded question with questions. Okay, so the best way to answer that is the way the book is a mirror of the 12-week online rites of passage. So every 7 days, brothers are given task, to complete. Body, mind, and spirit tasks. That holistic wellness is the daily work that you would do to charge your body, mind, and spirit. So they're giving an herbalist to begin to use the herbs in a way where they're making their teas. They take the herbs and they apply it to their skin, the large organ in their body. They use the herbs as a way to soak. We tell brothers do the spiritual baths to soak in the herbs. They create their own personal affirmation confirmations, so they can affirm themselves. A lot of brothers don't value themselves, so they have to begin to pour back into themselves. So they're giving various assignments that they must complete every 7 days and report back to the brothers their assignments. They must drink a gallon of water. They must do their spiritual observance, regardless of so that whatever their religious discipline is, they must, really be in tune that they're Muslim. Make sure you do your 5 times a day. If you're a Christian, make sure you observe your Christ principles. If you're a metaphysician, do your metaphysics in real time, right? If you're into the Commission studies or the Buddhist studies or Akana, Yoruba, whatever your discipline is, right? So by creating in the first 7 days, the first Irit energy center, this Irit is what we in the ancient Commission ancestors will call energy center. It's with the Eastern brothers and sisters in the Hindu faith called the chakra, right? So we have our own energy system in the Nile Valley. And so we use a lot of those tenets to inform the brothers on the body, mind, spirit protocols. The family man of unity and wealth is this first 7-day assignment, right? So every 7 days we move, the whole principle is to move up the body of man, right? And at the 12 weeks, if you do the work, if you do your accountable work, you'll be able to shift and to transform yourself. One of the first exercises that we give brothers, speaking to the vulnerability that you asked for about, is we have an exercise called the forgiveness letter. So we have brothers do a meditation for themselves, to go into a meditation space and as their grown man self or wherever they're at in their present age, to go to a time where they felt they were not as strong, powerful, secure, supported, whether it be family, father not there, mother, whatever, right? Go to that 5-year-old self, 10-year-old self, 17, 18, 21-year-old self, even maybe a current space you may be in, and write a letter of forgiveness for yourself. We find that when brothers do that and really take that meditation and write that assignment, that some brothers, it's hard. Some brothers say, brother, I couldn't even do it. I started breaking down and crying. Some brothers say, I did it and I feel lighter, right? But so there's a series of exercises like the forgiveness letter that brothers are responsible to do every 7 days. We meet twice a week online and we discuss these assignments and we have brothers share out. And that's the transformative alone, because you have all these alpha males together from different, different parts of life, different where they live, locations, socioeconomic backgrounds, coming together, sharing letters of forgiveness, sharing their daily disciplines that they did or didn't do, right? Hearing other men's stories about loss and not feeling strong and not feeling valued in their relationships, not loving themselves enough. Maybe some brothers have went through abandonment from parents, and some brothers overcoming molestation from a young age. So we open pack all of these different expressions and experiences, and we create daily rituals that brothers go through to begin to restore that integrity that they felt at a point in their life was taken. So the book is written in that way where a brother is kind of more of a Sigma male. He wants to connect, but he's just out in the world doing himself, right? The book is laid out so he can take himself through his daily discipline to reflect. But even more so, we want to encourage brothers coming together in a circle, in a cipher. Like I told you earlier about, when I had my street rites of passage, like it was something about the warrior class, those brothers, even though we were doing negative stuff, I felt empowered by that, right? Then it went from one cipher to the next. So I know when brothers come together, negative or positive, is something powerful, right? It's how you use the power. But to have these brothers come together and say, you know what, I raise my hand to healing. I know that I've been showing, manhood has been having me show up outside of myself, and I've been feeling empty. Like I'm here for my wife, I'm here for my kids, I'm here for everybody in my life, but I'm not here for myself. I'm up here providing resources for everybody, but I'm still feeling empty. So Man Heal Thyself speaks to that. It speaks to brothers that, you know what, no black man, no man, you are beautiful. You are worthy of being acknowledged. You are worthy of having the best version of yourself be here. And you're worthy of taking sacred time and doing the disciplined work, regardless of whatever that's you outside of yourself that you have already started on your journey to serve up. You must serve you. Like, you can't leave you out of the service. So over the 12-week, we teach brothers new habits on how to treat himself as to inform better relationships with him outside of himself. We have a very strong faith in man healed by himself, that as man pours into himself daily, he's able to transfigure body, mind, and spirit and begin to inform newer relationships because a new version of himself is revealed. And so basically the cadence of the program is based upon the brother or the warrior in making, doing the work, doing the assignments, making time for his sacred bath. Most men don't take baths, right? But soak. We live on a water planet. Our body's mainly water. So you have a moment with that water and you're soaking and you're reflecting and you're leaving your old self in those waters. That's a part of cleansing, catharsis, right? So we have it's very dense, informed program laid out with tools. All types of, every 7 days, you're giving a different herbal list to really become your own medicine man. As you write your affirmation confirmations and do these written assignments, you're becoming a wellness minister, And as you make time for yourself and your life and you fight for the better health and better mentality and better emotional state, you become more of a warrior that stands on your ground. And so this is the prayer in the universe, is that we have 1 million men in holistic wellness, 1 million men of our men saying, let's stand up for wellness. We stand up for gangsterism. We stand up for banging. We stand up for hustling and everything. We stand up for hip hop, right? But imagine if us brothers start saying, this is the new cadence, loving myself, healing myself. Then the music starts to transform. We don't have to even make it transform. It becomes a new expression because the brothers doing the work. See, the women have already opened the way. As you see, our mothers, right? They did the opening video. Women are always doing the work, even if they have, a failed relationship, going through their marriage woes, 3 or 4 jobs, right? A lot of kids. Women find time for self-care, whether they have knowledge of self or not. Like just a woman getting her hair and nails done, going to the massage, that's her self-care. She can still be ratchet, but she knows self-care, right? Women have that. Men, we don't have that. We know it, right? And we love it in women, but we don't love it for ourselves. So it becomes separate for us, And so the new man, we want to fashion a new man. The man says, I must pour into me first so I can continue to be a strong pouring into my women, children, and work in the world. And one of our affirmations is, nothing works unless you work. And man is man's responsibility. So we have a faith that the more of us become, healed alphas, and not using the alpha frequency to be competitive with other men, but use the alpha frequency to attract men so we can inspire other men to be better versions of themselves. Really change the narrative of it, because all alpha means really is leadership. So we want all our men to be alphas. A beta means a man that doesn't want to take leadership. That's it. And there's a lot of us men, depend upon where we at in our lives, we probably made excuses and we don't want to take leadership. It's like when a brother says, man, leave the little homies alone, man, let them wild out. Well, that's really, we think is alpha, but it's beta. Because as a man that went through that, you're supposed to be that big homie that says, nah, homie. And you're not supposed to coddle the little YG wilding out. You're supposed to say, nah, don't do that. Now, he may not listen to you, but he'll hear you, right? But the OGs now, and we see it all on the YouTube, they got the platforms, they got the mics, they're acting so beta. But because they appear to be physically alpha, because there's a certain type of perception you have with black men when they look a certain way. So they have the alpha appearance, but their actions, their words, and their deeds is all beta. Because all beta means is to avoid responsibility. It means to avoid leadership. Alpha means leading. That's it. Take all that extra stuff away. You know what I'm saying? Finance, sexuality. I mean, those are extras, right? Depending upon who you are, what you're doing. But really, leadership. Right, so women can be alphas if they're leading themselves to an outcome that's going to be beneficial to them and their family. They're alpha females, right? But there are toxic alphas, right? So that's the leaders that are leading themselves in a selfish way, They don't want to each one teach one, each one reach one, male or female. You know, it's all about what they gain and what they do. And then they use the domination to dominate their friends and other brothers and sisters in similar fields. So those become toxic leaders, right? We see that, like you said earlier, of God about the government, right? So I said, yeah, I've seen, we all see the toxic element. But I said, because I was in it, I also saw something else that I wish more people saw, you know, and witnessed and saw that if we, man, what I'm seeing, if we had more of this in government, what I'm witnessing, this would be transformative, right? So there's obviously a dual thing happening in that sense too, right? So in that sense, there's a toxic leadership, right? So there's a point of saying that is we all need to do some form of healing, you know, angels and demons, right? All levels. We need to do healing, and healing becomes accountability. If I get a tattoo today, it hurts, right? But the hurt is not permanent. What's permanent after the tattoo is the healing, right? So I teach brothers, when you go through the rites of passage in the streets, that's not you. That's something you move through. Who you are when you know thyself is who you become more of, right? So we don't have to longer wear. I don't have to wear the burden that my father was on crack cocaine, or that I was banging at a young age and robbing drug dealers and hustling and stealing. I can share the story as a way to show I moved through it, right? So when I talk about that, I'm talking about, hey, I went through that, but look where I'm at. You know, not as I gotta always wear the pain as a coat. I wear God as my coat. I wear the Almighty as my coat. I don't wear my crack cocaine pops and I had to bang through the 90s in Brooklyn. I don't wear that as a coat. I don't wear my suit whooping on the East Side Bloods on my coat. No, I just use it as a way I was moving on through. And the work was still being done. The coat I'm wearing is the ancestors' activated coat. I'm their dreams made manifest. That's what I'm wearing, right? So that's the process of teaching, and each one teach one, each one reach one, is that we want to have more positive leaders out here. A positive charge. We know what the negative charge is. We know what the pain is. We know what the pain body is. Do we really know the God body? You know, regardless if you went to the initial 5% or not, the God body is real. We know the pain body. The pain body informs hip hop. Hip hop is the pain body. And to keep it 100, and I'm hip hop. I am hip hop, and I love hip hop, and I love the rappers and mainstream, old school, new school. But when I look at it objectively, even what I've been influenced by, it's all beta males masquerading as alphas. All of them, every last one. And it's not even. And I'm just keeping it 100. What it is it's right. Us not being able to transcend the experiences. We are stuck. And when you're stuck, you're not leading yourself forward. So we each generation, we're keeping the different clock going. And so the clock is going in the East Coast. And the East Coast, then the West Coast got it from the East, and they got the clock. Then the South took it from the West Coast, and they got the clock, right? But where were the men to move the culture forward? So when I see something like where Jay-Z's at now, he's an example of moving forward. Now, he may not be as hip as he was when he was stuck, right? But he's an example of what it could look like, because when he did his album 444, it was a different frequency than Reasonable Doubt. Even though if you did the knowledge was webbed through, right? But where he's at as a man, as a father now, he's able to inform himself in another way. And that's what we need to celebrate. I'm not trying to demonize the brothers and sisters that are still caught up in the frequency. I'm saying that are in the trap, his trap music. We're trapped. But if all of us are in the trap, some of us have to be doing the meditation, the knowledge, the listening to get us out the trap. And so we should definitely always hold space for those that are trapping, but we should always hold space for also those who are liberating, right? Because we're in a time where the house Negroes and the field Negroes need to unite with family. We're being killed in the house and we're being killed in the field. There's no longer where you can think I'm high and mighty because I'm in the house, right? We see this trauma. Look what happened with our beloved brothers, a few weeks ago with the Oscars. That's trauma on both sides. It's happening. So at the top of the pyramid is trauma, and the street culture is trauma. It's trauma everywhere. And so if we can begin to give each other encourage, especially as men, begin to help encourage and coach each other with other ways to liberate and move through ourselves and germinate ourselves, then we can fully begin to go from the pain body and begin to understand what our true God body really is.
Indeed. And I heard you say that before too, you know, deeper than having knowledge of self, or in addition to having knowledge of self, having knowledge of cells.
Well, that's what it is, because a lot of brothers memorize things, but until you use the foods that are going to be a reflection of the knowledge that you're bringing, right? So all the books you're memorizing, all the scholars you listen to, right? So on a mind level, you're strengthening your mind, but you have to also find ways to nourish this physical suit called the house, the shrine, the mosque, the temple, the cathedral, the tabernacle. This is the one that houses everything. And so you can't be doing a knowledge here and then, you know, let me get a number 10, a 299. That ain't gonna work. You got all this knowledge here, and then you order in a 1099, 299 because it's cheap. So your mind power is rich, but then what you need to sustain long, powerful life, your lungs, your prostate, your liver, your kidneys, you're gonna throw that away. So that means you're disrespecting your mind, right? That's why it's called holistic wellness. Doing the same thing I do with my prayer is a reflection of my mind science. It's a reflection of what I eat. They all work in tandem for the greater me. That's what Man Heal Thyself is about, is informing brothers 360 degrees. You can't be just a 120 God. You know what I'm saying? You got to be 360 degrees your full self. And it takes a lot of work.
Yes, indeed.
Like I'll share with 19 Keys and my mother on the podcast with Earn Your Leisure. In ancient Nile Valley, the glyph for love expression was a plow, and it's called myrrh, meaning that you had to work at the relationship. So if you love yourself, according to the ancient Nile Valley ancestors, the hieroglyph is the plow. You have to put in the work. If I say I love you, brother, love you, sister, that means I have to show and prove what does that work look like according to the ancestors. It just wasn't a heart that the Greeks came up with, right? Which is a good attribute, but it's the work. Right, so we get into these relationships, and we let the romanticism rock us to sleep, rock the sisters to sleep, rock the brothers to sleep, and we get lazy, and we forget that just because you got your partner, you have to work. Now that you've attracted your reflection, you have to do two works: work on yourself and work on the union. That's the pledge that both of us have to have in the union to work. Right. So this is the type of thing this is the type of principles that we talk about in the training. Again, it's a 12-week online training. We do it twice a year. We just graduated for the the fall winter training. We graduated 92 brothers last semester. This semester, currently, we're going to our third week. We have 32 brothers for this semester. And then they graduate in the summer, and then we started up again, right back again in the fall and the spring. So it's exciting.
Youngest,
18.
18?
Yeah, 18. Yeah, 18 for now. Yeah, and I tell because every time I hit my inbox, I have mothers and fathers hit me up about, their 16, 17, 15-year-old. And, the book is have them begin to sit with the word, the sacred word, and have them begin to go through the exercises, because there's never, I was reading, these high-level books at 4 and 5, you know what I mean? So, by the time they hit the age to join the I call it the fraternity of wellness, the warrior circle, they'll be power hit. They'll be coming in transforming, but it's space capacity. I told my mother, she's hyped about possibly one day having the opportunity to have something for the younger men. The younger men need even more time. But I told my mother, I said, it's so heavy dealing with men because these are powerful brothers. They're not, we don't set trip on brothers who are effeminate, a little soft. We have all brothers in our cipher, right? And all men are men's responsibility. So wherever men are at, this healing needs to be there. So I'm just going to say that. But for the most part, the men in our ciphers, they look like, men, what you would think a man looks like, right? But it's a lot of tears. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of and these brothers know that we're not judging each other. We can be totally transparent and we can share out. And so I realized, this needs to be the norm. I'm here to make men's healing as much as I can do, my support, making this the norm where brothers can cry together and nobody's feeling like somebody's effeminate. Nobody's feeling less than they are. You can let the tears go. We'll say a prayer for you. We'll say affirmation for you. We're here for you. that needs to be the norm, because brothers don't get that safe space. No matter where they talk about basketball, talk about music, talk about girls. That's what they talk about.
Well,
Even the homosexual brothers, they talk about the girls, right? So even though they, right, so everything's all about the women. So since we all, no matter what, homosexual, heterosexual, always talk about the women, we need to use the women as an example that we need to square ourselves away. You know, it's always about acknowledging our women, but we must acknowledge ourselves so we can have a better attraction and a complementary or complement energy with our women. You know, because the women, you know, women are attracted to they're attracted to the gay brothers, right? That peacocking alpha that they do, and they're attracted to, you know, the alpha males, right? So women love both aspects of the men. But at the end of the day, it's man has to create a cadence and space for himself to go through his rights, so that what women see, because when women see us, they don't see us how we are now. They deal with us based upon what we can become. Most relationships that when women date you, get with you, give you sex, you know, love on you, marry you, most times, whether they woke or not, it's based upon who they see you put right. Even friendship, right? So it's up to us to honor when women are making themselves vulnerable for us. We must men create a space in ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To even honor that, so we can get the most out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because women are gonna do their work regardless. They figure it out. So we teach our brothers how to become master problem solvers, how to stay alpha and not go down from the scale to B, you know, the beta scale. And then if you drop into the beta scale, you're eventually gonna drop to the D scale, which is the D mind, the demon. So stay on the A, apex, aten, amen. Stay on your A, right? That's what we want brothers to stay on. And it's hard, it's not easy, but every day you do something to keep yourself in that cadence, to remind yourself who you are. And if you fall off and you become beta for a moment, you become demon for a moment, sit in that shadow self, assess yourself, remember who you are, and begin to do that work and climb back on up. Like the Christians would say, Jacob's ladder, right? That consciousness. Climb right back up to your higher self and activate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Family, remember to mash that like button and share this out. We're having a good conversation with the brother SupaNova Slom right now. Nicely, girl. You got anything else for the brother? Any more questions you want to shoot out there?
Yeah. When doing this work specifically with men, do you find that you're doing this with more married men or single men?
Both.
Coming to get
both.
This work, healing. Both.
It depends what formation. I remember when we had the 90-something brothers, it was a lot of married brothers in that one, and maybe a few singles. In this cipher, I would say 85% are single, and maybe 15% are married. You know, so it all depends. And so the principle of really doing, you know, self accountability, that's whether you're with someone or not. You know, so we tell our brothers who are not in a committed relationship at this time to commit to his growth and development, commit to himself. You know, and we give him, you know, we inform some principles unto him that he can begin to jump, you know, synergize to his own personal cadence, create his own system, and keep himself accountable. And if he's committed to his personal transformation and transfiguration, he'll be able to attract greater, you know, and his ability to attract a better complement, a better partner will be even much more abundant than if he's not doing that, holding space for himself. And then we encourage our brothers who are married, who are, you know, in monogamous relationships, you know, to don't lose sight, don't get lazy in your union, right? Because a lot of us men who have beautiful wives and girlfriends or mates that care for us, it's easy for a man just to kind of get rocked to sleep, you know. And remember, you know, I remember me and my wife the other day, I said, we got caught up in our life, and then we started doing what we do, right? Which is we're dating each other, right? So she's my wife, but we do things to remind ourselves that we're dating each other, even though, because that dating each other keeps us fresh, excited about each other. You know, there's sometimes I'm not going nowhere. And I talk to this with the brothers. Sometimes you just gotta, I tell brothers who are married, listen, if you're home one day, come home from work, and you know see, our women know everything we do. They know our schedule, our time, what we do, you know, and men we get norm. You know, we have norms that we lock into. I said one day, don't go nowhere. Date inside. put on your dope suit, change it to James Bond. You know, put your cologne on, put your smell goods on, go in that shower, groom your own self, really get prepped up, put your best smelling clothes on, take some wine glasses out. Don't pour wine, pour some water in the wine glass. Do it fully different. Where you going? I have arrived where I'm going. And tell her, put on your outfit. Like, what's going on? We're dating inside. We're inside now. It changes down because we always say we got to go out, which is good too. I want to take your woman out. But it's a whole nother thing when you can bring out in. You know why? Because it changes the dynamic. It keeps the relationship fresh. Like we're still dating. Like, okay, we know when it's time. Okay, you got time, I got time, kids is whatever. We're gonna go out. But imagine if you create that in your in the house. Bring some of that energy, that feng shui, that magnetism into the house every so often. It makes the man remember he's valuable and beautiful and wonderful. His woman remembers that, and then it also brings back spontaneity. See, men, we can get caught up in what we do because we are providers. We're the ones that lead that signal. But you have to switch it up, for yourself. So you can get excited again about being you and being your union, So these are the different things, the different dynamics we talk about in the Man Heal Thyself training, just to give brothers extra tips on how they could just show up better, and also not to be beta complainers, right? Because, there's a big thing on YouTube. I'm pretty sure y'all aware of it. The discussion, the MAGTOW movement, the red pill, go their own way. The principles are okay, right? But the lifestyle stagnates the man. So basically, the movement of enough is enough, right? I'm not going to take women's stuff. Man or woman shouldn't take our lower vibrational stuff, right? So that's a good signal when men say enough is enough. I'm not going to go be that lower version of myself. But without going through your own accountability and healing, no matter if you say go your own way on red pill, you still attract the same type of women, So you want to take that principle for real in yourself and inform daily habits to fully be transformed and expressed so you can better signal high vibrationally and attract better outcomes based upon the work you do for yourself.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I like your outlook on the different things, you know what I'm saying? Because, immediately when you said that red pill thing, I'm like, boo, throwing tomatoes. Right, but you found a higher aspect within it. Well, because
sincere with anything, like I said, even the military, right? You can find God in anything.
Right, there you go.
You know why you can find God in the devil? Because at one point, according to their story, the devil was God's favorite. He was a falling angel.
Right.
What does that mean? Angel who has fallen. So you can find God anywhere. And what I usually do with me and my ministry of healing, I try to find the light wherever it may be, even if it's small, and teach from that place. I'm not joining the MAGTOW red pill movement, but I said, oh, wait a minute, I see where they could, I see where they initially start. And I just try to find the positive energy there and just try to encourage those brothers to go a little deeper with the accountability. Because the blaming, it's like it starts out alpha, but the blaming women for everything, that's beta. Because it means alpha is A. Where's the accountability to go with the A?
Right.
You don't change your own personal behavior, you're gonna keep attracting that woman perpetually. In your mother, in your sister, in any female energy. So that's my only thing with them is just to encourage them. You're on a start evaluating. I like the value part of it. They valuing themselves. Hey, so wait a minute. I'm a prize. I'm valuable. I matter. But now let's take that deeper and just don't even use the woman as the fuel. Go deep and check your shadow self and check yourself and begin to self-correct. And then you'll find out you don't gotta blame nobody. You find out, well, that was where I was at the time, the type of woman I was attracting. Now I'm attracting a whole nother type of, opportunity for myself.
Say that, brother. Say that. Well, man, you've been super generous with your time, brother, man. Let us know what you got coming up next. Any other programs that you're building, music, what else you got going on other than some of the stuff that we already discussed?
Yes. So again, twice a year I do the Man Heal Thyself Wellness Warrior training. That's one for the fall, the spring, summer semester, and then the fall, winter. So I'm excited about that. In between that, I'm still creating. I'm still doing my music. My catalog is pretty intense and long. And I'm blessed to have a team to grow and develop with. I'm a musician, so besides being an MC rapper, you know, I also sing and write music and play guitar and piano. So for a little moment, I was going down the alternative pathway for a little moment myself. I had to get that out. Now I'm back to rapping. I'm very excited about that. And so I've just been writing, and, you know, I put out a buzz single recently called Super Mega, which y'all generously shared in the promo clip. And so I'm very excited about, just sharing that part of my art form again. And over the next year, I'm just going to be continuing to, work on some singles. Me and my team working in the studio for a new project that we're working on top of the year. So yeah, I'm still doing that. And I'm doing definitely. I've been working on creating the wellness ministry on my platform. Just continue to speak positivity to the audience that needs to hear it, and just to be a wellness warrior bridge for brothers and sisters on the wellness path, inspired by my book, The Holistic Remedy. Both books are available on Amazon.
There you go.
So y'all can go get them. This is The Holistic Remedy. Brothers and sisters want more of a some tools to help them how to really inform their wellness path, regardless what level they may be, whether they plant-based or not. We have the book over there on Amazon, The Holistic Remedy, SupaNova Slom. And then we have, of course, Man, Heal Thyself, that you can get from Amazon as well. And also, like I mentioned earlier, I run a plant-based wellness company called Super Mega Foods. 100% organic, no soy, third-party tested. All plant-based nutrition. If you want to get your muscle mass on, you can get our Super Mega Sport Endurance Protein Formula. If you really want to detox and still be able to, have high energy, you can get your Mega Greens mix. I know we're dealing with the Rona atmosphere, so we have an immune system tincture that kids can have it, adults can have it. Take it 3 times a day, and really get that salute happening. So we're building wonderful with the plant-based company, SupaMegaFoods.com, SUPA Mega MGA Foods.com. And so that's what's going on. Wellness salute.
SupaMegaFoods.com.
I was going to ask about that, because you got some size on you from what I can see. And my poor little son, he plays football and he plays the D line. I don't feel like he's big enough to play the D line, but that's where they have him, and he's been trying his best to bulk up. The boys in the gym constantly, but he's getting a little cut, but that he wants that size, right?
He's got cuts. He wants size, right? So he has to. Okay, yeah. So he has the cuts, which is great. He has the physique already. He wants to build the size, so he has to increase his calories. Okay, every meal, he should make sure that he has a fat source, a protein source, a carbohydrate source, and a fiber source. So if he's plant-based, right? Like I'm plant-based, I'm vegan. I make sure that in that I'm hitting that modality. And for sides, what you do, for me, I do strength training. So you move increments in weight, right? And when the way I lift the weight, with a very heavy weight, I'm able to burn fat and gain muscle. And so after I train, when I eat, I make sure that I have a protein source, fat source, carbohydrate source, and a fiber source. And I just eat. So if my goal is to shred, like get to his size, I will decrease I would say eat those protocols, but I would decrease the calories and have more liquids. So instead of having a solid meal, I'll make sure that I have that in a shake. So like the Mega Foods, right? You can have 32 ounces of water, right? I'll add an avocado, that's the fat source. You can add some soaked almonds or pumpkin seeds, that which acts as a fat source and a carbohydrate and protein source. 2 scoops of the Mega Food, the Super Mega Protein Sport, 20 grams per serving. 2 scoops of that, right? You have water, you can have almond milk, or you can have whatever one. No, you don't have to do soy, but you can do oat milk, right? And you have a banana. One banana is healthy carbohydrate. So you have all of those different things happening. You can add also a scoop of the Mega Greens, which is fiber, right? So 3 liquid meals a day, maybe cutting down a lot of the solid meals. If I'm trying to shred and get more lean, then you have more liquid, right? Because everything you eat physically has to become liquid in the body to digest and process. So you have 3 liquid meals a day. If you're trying to eat more, bulk up, you increase those modalities: carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and fibers. I'll have now a small serving in my meal, right? In my solid meal, and then I'll chase it 3 hours away with maybe one of these, and I'll probably do that 2 or 3 times a day, along with my strength training regimen, right? I'm still building muscle mass. So you know, is there for you, but you have to. So if you're working, it's like he's playing football, he's working a lot. He has to make sure that he has the right calorie increase spread throughout the day, that he's hitting those modalities, and he'll start to see the gains within 30, 60 to 90 days.
All right, we're gonna order
$1 million worth of game right there.
Ashe.
Right there.
So 2 more questions before we let you get out of here, black man.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. And by the way, before we even do that, let everybody know where they can follow you at as well.
Yes, at SupaNova Slom, SupaNovaSlom, here on YouTube. Subscribe. I'm here on YouTube. I don't always post videos every day, but I'm in the community section. I'm always putting quotes and stories. I put a lot of positive information out there. So even if you don't see any new visual content, I'm always engaged in the YouTube community. So please subscribe here on YouTube. You can follow me, SupaNova Slom, at Twitter, at Facebook, and at Instagram. Those are the best ways to get me. And at all of those modalities, you can find the sites, the Mega Food site, where to get the book from, where to get the music from. The music, all my music is online, available digitally on all the algorithms. So we're here.
Yes, indeed. And I'm gonna send you some stuff to check out too. Since you're working on music, you might need a verse or something. So
okay.
I'm how you tap in.
Okay, Ashe.
But go ahead, beloved.
All right, brother SupaNova Slom. What does freedom and power mean to you?
What is freedom and what?
Power.
Oh, okay. Freedom means freedom to me is self-liberation that informs inspiration for others. So as you begin to create a pathway for yourself and to not be bogged down by any blockages, body, mind, or spirit, you know, you're fully expressed. You can use what you've learned to help others to be fully expressed and liberated. Power is a source that we all are power. We are connected to the universe's power, the planet's power. But power must be cultivated. So power for me is daily cultivation.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And this is the spot. This is the part where I put you on the Summer Jam screen. I love it. You know what I mean? And since we know that you are, you know, master MC, we're gonna need you to spit 16 bars. Now I'm just playing with
16
you,
bars?
Now I'm just playing with you. Look, you ready to go too. You ready to go too. I said let him go. Hey, if you want to, that's on you, but no.
Mission statement: revolution is in the healing. In order to change the world, we got to change us. Change from within, that's where it all begins. But our stomachs are being held hostage by drugs masquerading as foods. Biochemically engineered, designed, and refined, and we control our minds, making us mutant drones prone to self-destruction. By expelling these poisonous terrorists in our emotional, mental, and physical bodies, we can excavate the healing. But food is not only what you put inside and chew. Homie, sex is food. Thoughts is food. So whatever you put inside, you make sure it's beneficial, nutritious, and helpful, because the opposite will kill you. Reclaim your stomach from the clutches of your enemies. Reclaim your mind, toss them shackled thoughts, and break free. Wellness, woo!
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We can do it just like that. Oh, my bad. We can do it just like that.
I appreciate y'all. My prayer, my ancestral charge and prayer for you all is that the universal force, the presence of the Most High, continues to bless both of you all and your family and everybody connected to you and your ciphers. May this platform continue to grow and sprout abundantly from this time and beyond for all generations to prosper from. Appreciate you and thank you both for your service. Ashe.
Yes, indeed, man. Well received, man. And thank you again for being here with us, man. This has been a great conversation here tonight. A lot of gems was dropped. Family, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that you guys share this out as well. Make sure that you are following our brother SupaNova Slom on all the platforms. I'm at SincereluvdaGod on all social media platforms. And sis,
I am at Nicey Girl with the number 1 on Instagram and Nicey Girl without the 1 on all other platforms. Make sure you're following.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I thank y'all. Sincere to God, appreciate you. Nicely Girl, appreciate y'all. Wellness Warriors, salute to the family out there. Stay activated. Stay in wellness, family. Absolutely. Nothing works unless you work. Get to work.
And always remember, family, We are not the master teachers, but we are the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. Appreciate y'all tapping in tonight. See y'all tomorrow. Peace and Black love.
Peace.
Grace and peace, Black family. This is Vicky Dillard, your sister with the curly braids. And I want you to get ready for the new Master Elements project, the Spear and the Shield.
This vaccine isn't experimental. It's like a dandelion. You overlooking for their weird science.
DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God have taken this time during the pandemic to carefully craft the soundtrack to Black empowerment with hot tracks like God Mind, featuring Sadat X of the legendary group Brand Nubians.
We never die. I made an ancestral shrine. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen, I'm a law in the person of SincereluvdagodCast. That mean your arms too short like Tar Anthony Shaw.
God painted me black.
God painted me black, thanks for that. I'm a original man.
A letter to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
I say to the ancestors, dear Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, I just wanted to thank you for all the lessons you left us. So yes, I'm more than grateful.
And the controversial song Buck Breaking God today.
Why every Black show they gotta have a transgender? Either I'm crazy or there's gotta be a planned agenda.
Get ready, Black family. This is a much needed project. This is the Spear and the Shield.